Hello, good day. So let's take a break from our accounting and business subjects and let's do some book review. And this is one of my favorite book entitled Richest Man in Babylon. It's written in 1926 and most of the topics were about how to have your own money or how to save money. So let's take seven laws. So the seven laws are number one, start thy poor to patent or save money. Number two, control thy expenditure and don't spend more than you need. Make thy gold multiply and invest wisely. Fourth, guard thy treasure from loss and avoid investment that sounds too good to be true. Make of thy dwelling a profitable investment and ensure a future investment, increase thy ability to earn. So, number one is start thy purse to pattern or save money. So, if you would check, there are some Bible verse that would really ask people to save money. So, this is Proverbs 30:24-25, which says that four things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are the creature of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. So this one would teach us two things. Number one is the classic principle to pay ourselves first and for protection and savings. If you would check, most of us who was earning would usually spend most of what we had on our basic goods, and then whatever the difference, we would usually use that for leisures or some activity. But take note, this one would tell us that at first we need to save ourselves. So we need to have some insurance for the protections and saving so that it would guard us from our future things that might happen. Like this day, it's pandemic. There are a lot of unemployment. There are a lot of food stamp and then the Medicare, especially here in the unemployment for this period. If we were able to save money for the future, then we wouldn't be too much stress of our bills because there are some bills that we don't have choice but to pay that. Like for example, the electricity, the water, and if we are renting. So if we get unemployed and we don't have enough money to do for these things if we don't have savings. And then here in the Philippines, uh, take note that some would also be like the healthcare wasn't that good. Or good thing if you were in other country that would provide a good healthcare, like Germany, Australia, who would able to get some of your money to pay for that particular Medicare. Okay. Next, control the expenditure and then don't spend more than you need. So this is learning. This is learning to live within your means and avoiding any lifestyle inflation. So meaning that when we earn something, we should control our expenses because at times when we earn a little bigger, our lifestyle also what goes up or has the same goal congruent with our earnings. But that should not be the case because as we know, like Warren Buffett, who was one of the richest man in the world, would still live in a frugal life despite earning and investing more. So take note that lifestyle inflation should equal to the necessary expenses. What will always grow to equal our income unless we protest to the contrary. So meaning if if we want if everything that, like for example, if we had friends and go to the Starbucks and we also have the money to do that, so we would sometimes join that instead of saving all those money. So it's good sometimes to have little recreations because it's fun and we need to wanted to live our life better. But take note, we should always guard ourselves to the things that are necessity to us, the future. Okay. Next, may thy gold multiply or invest wisely. So take note that Proverbs 13-11 state that this honest money dwindles away, but who gathers money little by little make it grow. So this one I remember with the book. It was a story wherein this rich man and then this poor guy who would whose work is to doing the sculpture or engraving some of the activity. And then he would always engrave something for the rich people. But his earnings, according to the book, is just the same. He cannot even able to have a good life for his family. So he would ask this man to tell him what he need to do so that he would be able to be the same as them. And then this rich man told him that number one, you should save certain amount of your money and never use that. So he does that, and then after a certain period, this rich man go back and then asked him what did he do with all the saving. He said that since the wallet gets flattened, so he would use some of the money to pay for good food, for the luxury of life. So that's what it was being said in our previous slide, which told us that our lifestyle should not inflate with what we earn. But instead, we should invest this to something more wisely. So, meaning, when we invest into things, we should always know where and why we would want to invest that. Because if we invest something on things that we don't know, it would be might be lost because we didn't understand what we invest. Take note, it's good to know. So, number one, understand the compound interest and how you can benefit from it. So, usually we save our money to the bank, but take note that the bank gets richer and only certain amount of what the bank is earning goes to us. So, it's better to use some of the compounding. So, here in the Philippines, the usual compounding would now be the government law, the government investment like the pag-ibig, and then some of because since usually the bank don't have the compounded interest, or if you would, it was too little and sometimes didn't even good for the inflation because the inflation lately goes high and high. Like now that the pandemic is to the depletion of the money goes a little bit lower. So even if you were earning, the value of the money goes a little less valuable. Like for example, if you were working in the US and you're investing here in the Philippines, then for this period, it would be higher for you. Whereas if you were in the Philippines and then you are buying a lot of uh, dollar, so it might goes up a little higher in some future time. Like for example, what are the compounded interest? The bank interest, but it's quite too low. Consider opening an online high interest account that cannot access ATM so that you will not be tempted to withdraw every now and then. And then investment, only invest after you were able to reserve 6 or 8 months worth of living, because the 6 and 8 months worth of living would already safeguard you to look for a job in case you lost a job. So you would be able to hurdle and be able to be conscious on one of your expenses. Then there are many investment vehicles. Choose the most that you understand, because sometimes because it's fun, people would invest. Like for example, Bitcoin. A lot of people lost in Bitcoin because they would withdraw when it goes down. When in fact, investment usually is a waiting game. So when you invest, you always need to wait so that you would not be able to lose your money. You need to invest, and then what would you do? You put that money and never sold it until it goes up. So never sell on a red days. You only sell on a green days. So therefore, what you need to invest is those money that you are not using or intended to use in the near future, so that you will not be able to lose. Because one of the rule of Warren Buffett is number one, never lose money, and then the number two is always remember rule one. See this one. So next is guard thy treasure from loss and avoid investment that sound too good to be true. So this is what I've been telling you on the rules of Warren Buffett, which is never lose money and never forget lose one. Have variety of insurance policy, because take note, insurance policy is hedging. Here in the Philippines, we normally not so much what do you accustomed in the insurance policy because there are a lot of scam. Just what happened to CAP, an educational insurance that lost most of the people's money. But although most you have to check because they said it's not an insurance, instead it's a pre-need company. So when you have insurance, that would be able to safeguard you from future loss, further loss. Like for example, why do you think most people would do some of the insurance policy? Because they wanted first to save themselves. So they wanted to insure themselves so that since they are the golden goose of their family, or they're the father or the person on that particular earning, if you were be able to insure your life, then you'll be able to get the proceeds. Whereas if you put most of your money on the bank, once the person die, it's now liable for estate tax. Insurance is not. Okay? Because it's a hedging. Like if your house caught on fire, if you had insurance, then you would not having problem of how to build a house right away because you don't have the money. And some of the money is still on loan for the housing project here in the Philippines. So insurance would be able to safeguard for that. What else? For the car insurance, if you were be able to lose the car or to have some accident, if you have insurance policy, then you will not be the one who would have to pay. Or in the event you were the one who paid for that, then you will be able to reimburse to the insurance. That's why insurance provide us a hedging. So it's allow us to safeguard or provide us some safety net so that in the events things happen that would lost something, then an insurance policy would cover up. Like for example, if you have a family, I guess you should have to have insurance policy so that in the future, if one of the parent die or both of the parent die, the children would still be able to go to school because there is an insurance policy that would help him or her to be able to have money to sustain his or her living despite nobody is earning from them. Because if you invest everything with regards to the property, like for example, for bank, the bank would freeze all your account if you were if a person die. Okay, unless you know the ATM pin. But usually it would be free so that you would be still to pay the estate tax here in the Philippines. I guess I don't know if in the other country it would still be the same. You would comment so that we would be able to collaborate with that one so we could compare. Okay, if you invest it to a house, or what if the house cannot be sold easily because the price was quite high, especially during this period. Okay, so it would still be good to have some safety net, and that would be insurance. Then you have to create an emergency fund so that your investment will not be able to have some hurdle in the event that the investments go down and you need the money. So if you have an emergency fund, you would be able to use the emergency fund instead of being forced to get your investment at a lower value because that would be able to lose. And then avoid investment that sounds too good to be true. Especially here in the Philippines, there are a lot of scam that had happened. A lot of people lost money for that because they think that will provide a better interest. So if the person or an investment would give you a good interest rate, you have to check it further so that you will not be able to lose your money. Or rather, it's more better that we would invest on something that we know, on something that we know every single detail, the nitty-gritty of that investment, so that we're not be able to lose money on that one. Or if in the event it would be lost, we will be able to get that back. Okay? And remember, it costs nothing to ask a good friend for advice. Take note, we usually, here in the Philippines, we usually, like for example, if you would check, since we are all here, usually people are YouTuber, those YouTuber who was earning higher amount, they also paid costs for their content creator, for for the staff, for the for the activities that they do. So they usually ask people to help them so that they would be able to improve their crafts. For example, the athletes are being trained. So there are some coach in doing such. So it's sometimes good to ask a good friend or seek some advice that we know that are really good on that craft. Because sometimes we would ask from a friend who were not also knows some of the details with that one. So that would be for that, so that we would be able to have a good investment and seek advice from people who are expert in a particular field, people who have actual experience of what you are attempting to. Like for example, here when I was starting this channel, I really didn't know how to grow the channel. So I scanned some of the good or the known YouTuber like KDP, and then one of the video I remember, he said that when he was just starting the YouTube, he feel frustrated when some people would view other channel that content was inferior with what he proved. So he would some message of his friend, why you didn't like why you watched this channel and not mine. But take note, each people has a different perspective. And so I don't know how to grow the channel. And then I seek some advice of my friend. We're already using some of the channel also. So then there I realized that I also need some virtual friend would be able to help me on doing this one, because if you don't have people who would love your crap or a friend, sometimes the most difficult one is to have the subscriber at first. It was a bit frustrating, but as you go, you learn, and then you research on yourself so that you would be able to know what are the crap that we are doing. Okay? And next, make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Make payment that will eventually become equity rather than giving money to the landlord. So meaning, it's better that we would have our home, although I guess this one was quite not that much, because especially because the transportation is going up. So probably if you would have, um, but it would be better to own a house, because that would be an asset. And remember the land, although the building, the house would depreciate, but the land goes up, it accrue in value. Unless there are some impairment. But mostly, if there are some new infrastructure or government project near your house, the value of that land goes up. So usually it's a good investment. And then be smart about your biggest expenses if it's isn't home ownership. So meaning if, for example, if you were living in the Philippines, if you were living in a province and then you got to travel to Manila for your work, uh, you would be able to have two options. Either to go on commute, which cost you like from here, for example, here in Bulacan, would cost you 100 pesos to go to Manila. Or own a car, wherein you need to drive, you need to put some gasoline, and then pay the toll fee, which is almost the same thing as your fare. So that could be one that you would be able to analyze to check if it's necessary or would give you an investment or a liability. Okay, like for example, you're in YouTube. If normally at first we would just wanted to enjoy it, and then you would realize that when the crop get a little bigger, then it would be also a good investment. Why? You'll be able to have some virtual friends. You'll be able to showcase your crop. And then in the future, if you are be able to have good views, then you will be able to have earn from the ads. Okay? Next, ensure a future income. So take note, like for this one, need work, because like for this one, a lot of people get unemployed. Like here in the Philippines, there are millions of people who become unemployed. And then some of the people here in the Philippines, normally their children become their pension. So that's why uh, it would be better that, despite there are some social insurance like the social security system, but the social security system only provide 25,000 um, pension, whereas GSIS provide like around 10 to 90% of your salary. However, the amount that would be deducted from you would be higher. But it would be better to have some social security insurance and investment, so that it will be able to sustain your life in the future when you already don't have work anymore. So for your old age. Like because when you get older, there are more expenses because you need some of your maintenance, medicine, you get easily ill that you need to go to the hospital, and hospital here in the Philippines was quite expensive if you don't have the money, or you go on a public hospital. But normally it's already full of patients. So it would be better for us to have good social securities and earning. Unlike for a good countries like one of one of my one of the person that I do usually look on her YouTube was the one in Germany, and she said that the tax is 46%. However, that all the necessity are already provided: the school, the hospitals, and then some of the insurance that are needed for the person. So that would be a good investment too. And next is increase the ability to earn. Invest in thyself. So take note, we need to invest on ourselves. We need to read a lot, to do our knowledge, to exercise, so that we would be able to have a better us, to become the better version of ourselves. Okay? Or meaning we have to invest on ourselves, not on other people. So let's make some hugot. Like for example, instead of chasing your guy, you chase for your dream, for your passion, for something that would make you live your life better. Okay? Next, we live in a very exciting team, the information and innovation age. So it's easier and less costly for us because anything that we wanted to know and understand in just a click of a mouse, that would be good. Like just what is doing with our YouTube channel, are we able to know and be friends with other people outside the Philippines? We'll learn some of their activities. We'll learn some of the things that how would this place work, what are the things that we wanted to see, and just stopped because of the information. We are able to learn new languages without enrolling because there are some of the activities that we could do. And knowledge is literally at our fingertip thanks to the internet. So we should also read so that we will be able to earn more, to learn more, and in the future we'll earn more. Like for example, nowadays there are a lot of modes of means to earn, like YouTube, like online selling, and a lot more. Unlike before, that you need to use your feet, your mouths, and your hand and go to a certain place so that you would be able to get your target market. But now, because of the internet, you'll be able to reach the world with just a fingertip. This is my approach in running my business: learn, earn, get, and give. So we need to learn what we are wanted to know or wanted to earn. Like for example, here in YouTube, we need to learn. That's why there is some YouTube Academy so that we will be able to earn. And then when we get, we also need to share it to other people because it's paying forward. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. And hopefully you learned something from my favorite book. Good day and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.